Hello, we are now moving on to metabolic alkalosis and how it relates to the concept of acid base. Here's a link to the lesson plan regarding acid base. It's the same as the acid base concept. They can also be found in Blackboard if you have trouble getting the link to work. Without further haste, let's dig into metabolic alkalosis. Metabolic alkalosis is basically too much bicarb in the body. So something's going on metabolically that's causing either a lot of acid loss or somehow they're getting too much bicarb. This is going to cause the pH to rise as well as the bicarbonate. Bicarbonate will be greater than 26, pH greater than 7.45. So in an attempt to compensate, again, the respiratory system is going to go say, hey, we don't have enough acid in the body. We're too alkaline. So let's slow down the respirations and hang on to some of that carbon dioxide so we can convert that into carbonic acid. So what causes metabolic alkalosis? Some common causes. Number 1, vomiting or gastric suction. What's in our stomachs? Hydrochloric acid. So if they're losing all that hydrochloric acid, that's one of the number 1 causes that can lead us to metabolic alkalosis. Here are some others. Some of the effects of metabolic alkalosis are neuromuscular excitability. That has a lot to do with what happens with the calcium. Those calcium levels drop. Remember those fluid and electrolytes and that low calcium level, hypocalcemia, as well as confusion, myocardial contractility, and some other electrolyte imbalances. Metabolic alkalosis is rarely a primary disorder by itself. Usually it's secondary to something else going on, whether it's medications we give them to treat something like hypokalemia or because we suction out their hydrochloric acid. It also accompanies a lot of chronic illnesses like Cushing's syndrome or hypoaldosteronism. Some of the manifestations you might see with metabolic alkalosis are confusion and decrease of LOC. That's because of the lack of cerebral blood flow. The hyperreflexia and the tetany are usually related to the hypocalcemia that accompanies metabolic alkalosis, as well as some of these other symptoms. Some common medications to treat metabolic alkalosis include isotonic IV solutions like sodium chloride, or even potassium chloride if it's related to hypokalemia. Additionally, if it's really severe, they can actually order hydrochloric acid to be administered. Look at some of your nursing actions here. And just like before, I'm going to ask you to not just look at the actions themselves, but try to understand why you're doing them. We're going to monitor the LOC because they have a decrease in cerebral blood flow. We're going to monitor the respirations because they typically have a decrease in the respiratory drive. Here are some more independent and collaborative nursing actions. I encourage you to look these over and review them in your book as well. You need to know how to manage your patients with metabolic alkalosis, and these are some of the key points. Here's the references I used for this presentation. I happened to leave off the MedSurg book from Elsevier. I use that one a lot. There's some other additional links on here. If for some reason you can't get them to work, don't hesitate to reach out to me and I will be happy to send those to you. Next up, we'll go into some details about respiratory acidosis. Happy studying.